Okay, so today we are going to be doing a easy veggie curry. This is one that I do very often. It seems like that kind of day where we're gonna do something warming. And the spice blend I'm using today is kind of like a store-bought one that's pre-made. You can get it in any kinds of things, any kind of flavor profile that you want depending on what mood you're in. I like it a little bit spicy, but you can get whatever you like. This is really easy to do, takes about 20-25 minutes, and I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Okay, so here is our mise en place. As you can see here, nothing too extravagant, just some simple vegetables that we have here. We got 2 red potatoes that I cut up, a half a zucchini, a small carrot, and then half of a green onion. So I cut those up. I know you don't want to see any ASMR stuff of me cutting vegetables throughout half of this video, so I saved you the trouble. This is a chunk of ginger, as you can see the size there. And I'm just going to cut it very thinly. I lied. I'm actually cutting something in front of you. That's okay though. So I'm just gonna cut these up, and then we're going to just give them a fine julienne. So we're just going to stack these up and then just cut them into fine slivers. And that is going to distribute throughout our curry as we saute the ingredients and lend itself to that lovely warming effect that we're going to have with this curry. So we're just going to do that, and then we are going to set that aside and move on. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my favorite spatula. You might want to grab yours too. I got a couple tablespoons of oil going into this hot pan. This is about a medium-high heat in my favorite pan. Something nice and heavy bottom there. I'm going to add all of that julienne ginger, and right away as soon as you add that in, you're going to notice that it's going to be very pungent and fragrant, and that's what you want. So I'm going to add that half of that red onion, and I'm just going to stir that around, saute that a little bit, get everything working through there and bring out those flavors and aromas. And essentially what I'm doing here is we're just building a base, okay? So that's what we're going to do. And from there, you just want to cook that for just a couple of minutes. And I'm going to add a little bit of salt, like a pinch of salt, just to draw some of that moisture out. And then I'm going to add my potatoes and carrots. Now, I'm going to add them first because they're going to take the longest to cook. So I'm just going to add them in here. I'm going to cook them for a couple minutes as well. And then from here, I'm just going to get a quick little hit of salt and cracked black pepper here. And I just want to, because we're building flavors as we go here, layer by layer by layer. So I'm going to do that. We're going to cook it around for a couple more minutes. And then I'm going to add a couple bay leaves and our spice. So in this case, I'm using a spice called Kitchen Queen, which is made by a friend of mine here in the city. Now this is just like a masala of a type. So like if you have a favorite curry, it has all of the familiar spices that you're used to. Now if you want one in a store, the most popular brand would probably be the MDH brand called Kitchen King. And this one, Kitchen King, includes like ingredients like red chili, coriander, cumin, black pepper, dry ginger, cardamom, mango powder, mustard, fenugreek, salt, black salt, cinnamon, nutmeg, cardamom, fennel seeds, mace, turmeric, bay leaves, and curry leaf. Now that is a lot of ingredients, and I wouldn't expect you to go buying all of these spices and putting them in yourself, but this is the most convenient way to do it. So if you go to an Indian grocery, look for that, MDH Kitchen King. So while I was going over the ingredients there, you can see that I added a little bit of the Tajin too, which is a Mexican spice, which is basically just chilies and like dehydrated lime. And this is going to give us an added dimension of spice as well as a hit of tanginess, tartness. So as you can see here, our ingredients are wonderfully coated with that spice. And what I'm going to do now is I got a cup of water, which I'm going to add a little bit of this yondu, which is a Korean liquid seasoning. If you don't have that, of course, you can use any veggie stock of your choosing, so your favorite one if you like. And basically we're just going to put that in, and that's going to be the liquid component that is going to steam and cook our root vegetables. So I'm going to stir that around, make sure everything is nice, well, and combined. You want to deglaze that pan and get all of that lovely fond off of the bottom of this pan. So the next thing I got here is some pureed tomatoes, and I got this you get them at the Italian store or wherever you're going, but right here I got about a cup of this. Now if you don't have that, you can also use some like canned tomato as well, or even fresh tomatoes if you have the time to cook them down. So I have my half cup here. We're doing this really fast. We're just going to dump that in and stir that to combine it. And then once that is done, that is going to add another layer of flavor to our curry here, which is going to be very delightful. And all I'm going to do after this is slap a lid on this and turn it down to medium low, and just let that simmer until our potatoes and carrots are fork tender. So it's been a few minutes now. We're going to check out our mixture, and it looks like everything is cooking together very lovely, and our sauce has thickened slightly. So we're going to give that a quick stir, and of course I'm just going to give that potato a test. Now these are red potatoes. They hold their shape a lot better than a russet or a yellow, so this is going to be perfect for this type of dish. Now here, of course, is the point where we are going to add our diced zucchini. Now this is going to cook fairly fast, so I'm going to add that near the end. Now this is kind of the same technique that you would use if you were going to make a ratatouille, of course, because all of those elements and components cook at different rates. Now as you can see here, I'm just going to add that in. We're going to give it a quick stir. And if you notice that your liquid has cooked away a little too much, is maybe a little too thick, you can top it with a bit of water here. I got about 1/8 to 1/4 cup of water, and that's just going to give it it's going to give you a bit more time essentially. So I'm just going to stir that around just to make sure, and then I'm just going to cover that and let it cook for a couple of minutes more. So while that zucchini is cooking, I'm going to clean off my cutting board really quickly here, and I have a treat because I went to the garden this morning and I got some of these wonderful Swiss chard. So what I'm going to do is I have some Swiss chard here that I got from our own garden, and I already took all the ribs out. So the middle rib that is in the middle of the leaf, of course, you can just cut out, and I'm just going to stack these up. I got a few of them here, and I'm going to give them a rough chop. Now sometimes I will use spinach when I have, but I really love how Swiss chard holds up well in curries and soups. So I'm going to put that in. It's really wonderful, holds a really beautiful color, and yeah, we're going to add that in. So I gave it a couple of minutes to wilt with the lid on, and of course here it is now. We're just going to give it a nice final stir through, and this is pretty much done. So just give it a quick taste to test if the spices are where you like them, and adjust accordingly if you want to. Add some salt or whatever you want to do. For another added dimension here, I got some savoriness. I'm going to add a little squirt of soy sauce, and from there we're going to just give it a quick stir, and I think that is done. Okay, so here is our curry. It's looking very lovely. We'll get some nice close-ups as we go through here. So we got our potato, our root vegetables here, carrots, and of course that lovely Swiss chard that we got from the garden. It's gonna be quite delicious. Now, of course, we did that ginger at the beginning, so it's going to give some brightness to the whole thing, plus the spiciness from our spice blend. So let's give this a try. Okay, since we use the red potato, it's holding its shape right up there with the carrots, which is good. And like I said, that ginger brings all of the spices, accentuates and really boosts the flavor factor that we're going for here. And if you're going for something that is very like comfort, kind of warming, you want spicy but nothing too out there, then ginger is one of the perfect ingredients to add because it does really boost the properties of the spices. So we have a lot of really cool things going on in here. As you can see, this is our carrots, we have onions, we have our Swiss chard from the garden. Swiss chard is very good because, like, I usually like spinach throughout the year, but when you grow your own Swiss chard, the plant is so productive and you can literally be cutting new leaves off it like every week. And it's ridiculous because they just grow like crazy. It's really good. So there's brightness, there's acidity, there's a good balance going on here. And it's just really lovely. So I showed you how to do it. Take this recipe, make it yours, have fun, and be sure if you make this to let me know how yours turned out. And we'll see you on the next one.
Sit down.